Hello and welcome to the Africam show. My name is Taylor McCurdy and I'll be the voice that you'll be hearing for the next 45 minutes, or if things go well, maybe even a little bit longer. But for those of you that have just joined us, this is a live and interactive safari show where I will be narrating all sorts of cameras spread out over Africa. And yep, like I said, it is live. So what we're looking at right now is happening in Kenya, in a part of the country called Oldonyo. So you're welcome to send me any questions you like, and I'm really looking forward to hearing you. If you are new, typically what we do is you say hello, you introduce yourself, and then you tell us what you're having to drink. And if you have a snack, great, share it with us. So here are some of the regulars. We've got Aussie Jan, who said good afternoon. You've got watching with a coffee break. Great. And Jean Gale, you've just poured your coffee and you're looking forward to today's show. Casper's Third Ghost, I was wondering when you were going to show up. Happy Tuesday and a very warm welcome. And you're also ready with coffee. Everybody's on coffee this morning. Well, I suppose it's this morning for you and it's heading into the afternoon for me. And then we've got Mr. UHE. You have green tea and cookies today. That's good. Dear NC, hello, hello. You are here with your morning call as well. Hey, Jack de Boer, who just says, hey, guys. Hey, Jack. Nice to hear from you once again. And so I'm sure there are going to be a couple more hellos coming through. As and when they do come through, I will share them with all of you. But please tell me I sounded like Dr. Zeus a little bit. I'm just going to pretend that you're all saying, yes, Taylor, absolutely. Anyways, we're here to talk about wildlife. So as you all know by now, this is my absolute favorite waterhole camera, and I can't wait to visit it at some point. And lots of things happening. Giraffe around. You've got some beautiful clouds building, and then, of course, those crepuscular rays. So those are those sort of rays that are going across the sky. So pretty, and it looks like it might be quite a nice sunset tonight with all the clouds. You can see some of them are starting to get sort of little tinges of pink, maybe a few bit of yellow as well. Well, hopefully we'll get to watch the sunset. So Kenya is about an hour ahead of South African time, so it's just after 5 p.m. there at the moment. It shouldn't be long before that sun does start to set. And then we've got Mindy. Hello, Mindy. You said giraffes. Yep, giraffes. That's absolutely what we are looking at right now. And these giraffes kind of seem like statues, because if it wasn't for the wind blowing their tails around or them swishing the tails every now and then, I would have thought we were frozen. But we're not frozen. Look, there's one that's moving now, just to prove to you that we are not frozen and, in fact, that we are live, in case you had any doubts, because I'm known to be a storyteller, but not about this. And also, of course, we'll just mention for all the new viewers that are watching, those birds that you can see on the backs of the giraffe. See, we just saw one. There they go. They're flying off to the right. Those are called oxpeckers. Lovely birds. Fun to watch. They often get quite overlooked. These days, I tend to focus more on what the oxpeckers are doing than anything else. And for those of you, again, that don't know, oxpeckers are great birds. They've got a symbiotic relationship with a variety of mammal species. They remove the ticks, tick larvae and mites from the animals, whatever they might be sitting on. And they're basically going after the blood. But they provide a free grooming service. And then, of course, most of you have heard this before. If there are wounds that are, around, or if there's any scabbings, those oxpeckers will actually remove the blood. And I'll tell you why I'm going to go into that. But did you just see that giraffe in the middle? How he stretched his head down and sort of smelt the nether regions of the female on the left. Look, he's going to do it again. She doesn't seem too perturbed by it. So what he's doing right now is he's hoping that the female will urinate so he can test the urine. Let's see if he's going to do that. No. And by doing that, he's able to pick up the scent if she is coming into estrus or not. There's quite a few males that will hang around this waterhole, so all the girls get tested whether they like it or not. And let me quickly say a few more hellos. We've got Amber, hello Amber. You've got coffee and a smile today. That's refreshing. And then Bridget McKinney, you've said hello, hello. And Kauru, you said hello and sorry you're late. You never have to apologize, ever. But thank you. So what I wanted to tell you about, I'm on a guides group, and there's guides from all over the world. Some that have been in the industry for 30 years, maybe some even longer, and then a couple of us newbies like myself. And we just chat about general things, latest, updates on conservation. We all kind of give our 2 cents. Sometimes if there's a bug that needs to be identified, that's on there too, or just any interesting behaviors of wildlife. And just the other day, there was a video that was sent out, and it was basically some waxbill species in Samburu, so not that far away from where we are in Kenya at the moment. And have you all heard of a little animal called the dik-dik? It's this very tiny little antelope, and they've got these huge preorbital glands, which are scent glands just below their eyes. And now we talk about oxpeckers and even these wattled starlings, which have just landed around the water in a huge flock. They like to spend time around animals because they collect all the insects that are pretty much being disturbed in the grasses or the trees as big herbivores or even big groups of smaller mammals sort of move through. But I didn't know about these waxbill species, and I think they're the black-cheeked waxbills, if I'm not mistaken, and the relationship with dik-diks specifically. Now, again, it just goes to show how sometimes, I don't want to use the word narrow-minded because that's obviously got negative connotations to it. But if you take those negative connotations out, and I'm referring to myself now, here I am talking about a few bird species that we see that interact with mammals. Obviously, there's always like interesting exceptions around here. And there's also, again, only a couple that sort of physically interact on the body of an animal. So we see the red and yellow-billed oxpeckers for the most part. I've seen lilac-breasted rollers using zebras, for an example, and buffalo as a perch in the Masai Mara and the Serengeti. Not a lot of trees out there. And that's one of sort of their hunting strategies, is to perch and then fly and catch something. Then there's a whole bunch of other birds that, will perform specific behaviors in certain areas. Now, in Kenya, it's not the first time it's been recorded, but the last time it was seen was basically just photographs. There wasn't any video footage, but someone took this video of these black-cheeked waxbills flying around and landing on the dik-diks and actually removing fluff or fur from them, but also trying to get towards the preorbital glands and then trying to take some of that sort of sticky substance out of its eye, which is incredible. So some of the guides gave their inputs. It's not something that I've ever seen before, but I thought it was quite fascinating. In fact, it forms a part of their diet. It was always assumed that it was just for nesting materials. Maybe it helps glue the material together. That's why they were collecting the fur. But I thought that was rather fascinating. So the more and more we watch birds, the more we see them interacting with different animal species. So I'm looking forward to the years that come to see what other birds utilize something like a giraffe, for an example. I think I have all told you the story about the Cape starlings and fork-tailed drongos in the Eastern Cape at another reserve I used to work on many years ago, where the oxpeckers went locally extinct, but they've been brought back. And they were fulfilling the role of the oxpeckers, but not clambering all over the tops of giraffe. And they were specifically doing this with giraffe, but actually picking off the engorged ticks around the nether regions underneath the tail, back legs. And sort of, they obviously didn't hover, but they for brief periods, they'd be able to stay motionless and then grab one of those ticks and move on, which was awesome. So I absolutely love that. So sorry, I digressed from the giraffe onto a bunch of different birds, but I suppose it's relative to some degree. And then Ida, hello. You said that, Ada and Katie, you guys are watching this morning. Hello. That's good. I don't think that we have met before. It's nice to meet you. Again, my name is Taylor, in case you missed it. Well, thank you for reaching out and saying hello. And if you have any questions about what we're looking at the moment, please don't hesitate to ask. Oh, goodness, the vulnerable position that these giraffe have to get themselves into to be able to drink. And quite often when you watch them come down, it does take a moment or two before they go in. They don't kind of just trot up to the waterhole, stick their heads down and have a quick drink. Because they are stretched out like this, it'll be very easy for a predator to plot its attack when you're down in a position like that and you're not looking behind you. This is beautiful. It's such a great scene. I feel like we can always rely on this waterhole to bring about something. And it's so sad. I mean, obviously there's no more grass around the waterhole's edge, but we know that with a lot of traffic, the grass gets trampled quite quickly. And if animals are hanging around the waterhole, of course, it's going to be the first grass that they eat. But at least the trees are nice and green. When I look down at South Africa, everything is just completely barren. I've been watching the giraffe that are on some of the private game reserves in the area where there are fence lines. It's obviously, we're quite successful in South Africa where we don't have as much human wildlife conflict. Of course, we still get it. And one of the reasons is because we put these big fence lines up pretty much on the western boundaries of the Greater Kruger, and then it's all open to Mozambique and even into Zimbabwe from there. So I've been watching these giraffe walk along the western fence lines and actually trying to stretch out and feed on the trees that are growing, I suppose, along the fences. And just because they're eating too quickly for the trees to keep producing new leaves. So it's very sad to see, but we've had a bit of cloud buildup and some sprinkles over the last couple of days. Unfortunately, not enough to really make a dent on the vegetation, but we just have lots and lots of clouds building up. So fingers crossed that in the northeastern parts of South Africa and also all the way through Botswana, Zimbabwe, Zambia, Mozambique, hopefully we get some decent rain. But we're going to take a break from the giraffe, this entanglement that we've got at the moment, and we're going to head down to South Africa, have a look at the surroundings as well as a hippo. There's the hippo. So we are now in the northeastern parts of South Africa, actually not very far away from where I am sitting, and this is at the Nkoro waterhole. And I've just been told that this hippopotamus's name is Hank. I almost said Frank, but it's not. It's obviously Hank because he's a hippo. Why would a hippo call himself Frank if it doesn't start with an H? I mean, come on, Taylor. And he doesn't look like he's in the greatest condition. It might just be the light that's sort of obstructing my view slightly. But you can see his spine quite prominently, and then off to the sides, it looks like he might have some lacerations. Now, do you see that? That's not good at all. Like I said, it's a bit tricky to see, but as we zoomed in there a little bit more, we could see them. And I'm even looking at his ears. Look at how tattered his ears are. This must be an older individual. And then Kirsten has also said the hippo has a limp. Okay, so he's seen quite regularly. And then Zoe, Ruby, you said that this waterhole is so small, is there a drought? I think you might have been referring to the waterhole in Kenya, or are you referring to this one that we're looking at now? If you are referring to the one in Kenya, that's actually a little man-made waterhole that is regularly filled up with water. When there is a lot of rain, that does tend to overflow, but there is other water around in the area. But the old Aldonio side at this time of the year, it's very much in the dry season, so they're waiting for their first rains to arrive as well. But it's very popular. Animals love it. So now you can see that this waterhole is slightly larger, although not very deep, and is perfect habitat for Hank the hippo. And then I also see a message that has come through that last night Hank chased the Torchwood Pride, which is a pride of lions that resides in this area. We'll chase them away. Good for you, Hank, because you'd definitely be on their menu, unfortunately. A weakened hippo, and a fairly large pride of lions, well, they'll definitely take it down. Lions are no strangers to hunting hippos. So I bet he would have had to have acted on the defensive front just to make sure that those lions didn't get any ideas. I will go to the Hammerkop in a moment. I wanted to show you, while we have this wide view, just how dry it is at the moment. Now, the area surrounding this waterhole at Nkoro is a huge open plain and normally has tall grass that's higher than the tops of your knees, probably just below your waist, depending on how tall you are. So it's devastating to see that there's just nothing left. It's all gone. And now we have a close-up of Hank and his body. He might also have a little bit of mud on him, so that could be causing some of the bumpiness that we can see. But I do think he's got quite a few cuts on him. Not unusual behavior to see a bull by himself. Quite often it is an older bull that just doesn't have the ability to compete for water rights or territories, and females, they'll move into a little waterhole by themselves, or quite often younger bulls too. But you can imagine when you're out and walking around at night feeding, especially at this time of the year, you might wander further away from where you normally would graze. And then, well, when the sun comes up, you just grab the closest waterhole too. So that happens. So you can hear the oxpeckers, that drilling noise. And then we're just having a quick look around, and we'll have a look at the other bird species too. But here you go. Now you can see how arid this area is. It's bizarre to think. This is where I wish I could pick up or show a picture of what it looked like in summer. Again, it's nice to see that the trees are getting some greenery on them. The giraffe will definitely be thankful. But imagine rhinos, hippos, all the grazers, zebra, wildebeest, buffalo, how they'll be struggling at the moment. There's literally nothing for them to eat. The warthogs will really be the only ones that are going to be utilizing this grass, the short, because they've got those hard cartilage sort of linings in their snout, which they'll use as a shovel. And they'll actually go down onto their wrists, if you will. It's not quite their knees. And they will shovel that nose around and actually uproot the grasses and then feed on the roots. So even though it appears that some of these grasses, or most of the grasses, are dead, you might in fact find that the roots are still alive and they're just waiting for some rain. So we get perennial and annual grasses. So some grasses that last for more than one season, 1 year, and others that only last for specific seasons. They don't tend to grow back typically. But this is so sad to see. But there we go. Good news. Look at those big clouds forming with the dark bottom bases. That's great. They do look like they are climbing vertically, which will then bring the big cumulonimbus clouds, which is what really brings the big thunderstorms. And we might even have, this looks like there's a couple of nimbostratus clouds too. So again, they also bring rain. Fingers crossed we get a downpour tonight. It's also so weird in comparison to where Nkoro is to where I live in Hoedspruit, which is not far away, and how different the sort of microclimates are. This area might pour with rain, and then we get a couple of drops in Hoedspruit, or Hoedspruit pours with rain, and then the Sabi Sand Game Reserve gets absolutely nothing. So there's actually, towards that tree line that we're going now, there's more water systems there. There's more pans that start to fill up. But I can only imagine that they are completely dry now, unfortunately. And the elephants normally love those areas, and so do the hippos, especially towards the tree line, because when there's water in summer, we've also got the shade from the trees. Perfect combination, really. Isn't that madness? Very sad to see. And also some of the elephant droppings that we were panning across, I'm sure you noticed how red they were, or red they are. And that just goes to show you, it's further evidence of how little palatable vegetation is around at the moment. There's so much tannin in the food that they're feeding on. So obviously elephants, they're lucky. They can diversify what they eat. They're not limited. But they're just having to feed on a lot of bark, a lot of roots, which tend to carry more tannin than anything. That creates that redness, especially when it dries out quite a bit. But let's have a look at the Hammerkop. I'm enjoying this waterhole. It's nice to see the different interactions. These are impressive birds. They get their name from the hammer-shaped head that they have, a Hammerkop. So that's just Afrikaans. We don't really call them the hammerhead bird, though. And look at the size of that bill. It's huge. It's very long. It was just preening its feathers, just doing a bit of feather maintenance, maybe getting rid of some of the old ones. But while it's standing in the water like that, and even though it doesn't look like it's not doing too much, if it sees water moving, or if it sees something moving within the water, I should say rather, it will go after it. They are master hunters. And I bet that there'll be plenty of frogs or tadpoles, at least in this water hole, because my swimming pool, which we're trying to fix, has got about half a meter of water in it, and it has turned into a frog breeding pool. So I have no less than 20,000 tadpoles at the moment. So Hammerkop, if you want to fly over to my way, you can have a buffet. You can eat all those tadpoles. I am grateful, though, in case you're wondering, how are you going to get rid of the tadpoles? Lots of dragonflies, and the dragonflies are laying their eggs in the water naturally. And dragonfly larvae are predatory, so they'll actually eat the tadpoles, which is good for them. They can grow into big, strong flying dragons. Obviously, not flying dragons. Come on, Hammerkop, do some fishing for us. You're too busy. Maybe you got a date tonight, and that's why you're fixating on your feathers so much. Just jokes, of course. It's very important. Otherwise, if birds didn't look after their feathers, they wouldn't be able to fly, unless you're a flightless bird. Then it doesn't really matter. And then, Willow, you've just popped on to say hello. Hello, hello to you too. Also, another name I've not seen before. I love that there are a few of you, maybe only every now and then say something, but obviously we love to create such a safe community where you can chat to like-minded people. Wait, oh my goodness, it just got mobbed by something. I don't know what bird did that. The Hammerkorp's not particularly perturbed though. I don't know if it was maybe another Hammerkop, or if maybe it was, I actually don't know. It's looking up again. Maybe we can zoom out a little bit and then we'll see what bird is sort of mobbing it. Zygote came on and has said that apparently the Hammerkop had a frog earlier. Well, there we go. Perhaps it is full and it's just having a moment to focus on digestion. We've all been there. Now, it might have been a blacksmith lapwing, because I've seen plenty of them around this water hole. And I think I can see one walking at the back. So between the blacksmith lapwings and the fork-tailed drongos, they really are the biggest bullies around wherever they're living. With the blacksmith lapwing, it's typically around the water hole. They all feed on different things either, so I don't know why they were having an argument. Difficult to see. Things have settled down now. I can't believe we haven't had a herd of elephants make their way here. It's been so hot today. So I keep checking the tree line just to see if I can find any of those gray giants. But nothing just yet. I haven't been in the Sabi Sand since June, and it's crazy to see it's really starting to resemble what the droughts looked like in 2014 all the way to the end of 2018. It looks like the wind is starting to pick up now. But let's take a moment while we wait for hopefully the elephants to arrive. Let's go check out Cape Town and look at some Hyraxes. Okie dokie, we're at Stony Point. These are rocks. That's a tree. Lots of vegetation growing in between. See, Dr. Zeus again. I impress myself. As long as I can keep myself entertained, right? So, on these rocks, there's one there on the top right. It's moving. Look at all these Hyraxes. Hello. They're funny little creatures. They're not rodents. Their closest relative is, in fact, an elephant. Not that they look the same, but they share quite a few characteristics. And the last time I was here, there were lots of tiny babies. You can see the small ones just to the left. One is doing yoga in the middle. And then just quickly, Bridget McKinney has asked, speaking on birds and, preening their feathers, you've asked, do ostriches preen? So they definitely do preen their feathers. I've seen them fiddling away, but they don't do what typical birds would do when they preen their feathers. So on on feathers of birds that can fly, they have these tiny little barbules that are like tiny hooks, essentially. And each filament, so each tiny bit of feather has these barbules on it, and they act as zip ties. If that makes a difference. It's just when you're like zipping up a jacket. So by using your beak and sort of moving it across your feathers, you actually are relining and re-zipping those little barbules. So there's no gaps between the feathers. So when you flap your wings to generate uplift, there's no air that's sort of getting through it and then kind of defeating the purpose. So what I've seen with ostriches, I've seen them sort of moving around, especially at the base of their feathers. I've watched them pull some out, but those feathers don't have the same structure as normal feathers. They're very fluffy. There's no sharp edging to them at all, so they don't serve the same purpose. But what we do see ostriches doing lots is rolling around in the dust to help keep themselves clean. We call that dust bathing. So I hope that answers your question. Then we've got these little Hyraxes. What are you catching? Flies in the sky. Very itchy at the moment. Just catching the last of the afternoon sun before it gets chilly. I haven't actually checked the weather in Cape Town in a very long time. So I don't know. I think it's been raining. Normally it's a bit rainy at this time of the year and windy, although it looks like the wind is under control, which is nice. So yeah, so these little Hyraxes are very social. They live in these big groups together. Obviously, they do tend to encroach on each other's space quite a bit because their habitats are quite specific. With the rock Hyrax, they obviously like rocks and crevices. I've also seen them spend some time in trees, though, but for the most part on these rocky areas. And I read a very interesting, very sad study today. Some of you may have seen it, but we also see the African penguins around this area. And unfortunately, as of, I think it was today or yesterday, CITES has changed the category that African penguins in, and has now listed them as critically endangered, which is devastating to hear. So that's why it's so important to protect and preserve these areas. You can see there's a little wooden fence. We would call this a latter fence, that have been put up to just try and protect the habitats of the Hyraxes and, of course, of the penguins. We have encroached so much on their space. There needs to be a boundary at some point. So we have to put up physical barriers just to try and help them. So if you see someone behaving badly around these areas, call them out. You don't have to be rude, but just remind them now that you have this new information, that the penguins that we all take advantage of, that we see around Cape Town, are now critically endangered and on the brink of extinction, which is devastating. Amber, you've said that you've already learned quite a few things today. You said you learned about the oxpecker's call, the size of a Hammerkop, and you thought that a Hammerkop was much smaller. They are deceivingly big. Listen, I think if you poured water or sprayed a hose pipe on a Hammerkop, it wouldn't be as fluffy. They wouldn't be as robust as what they seem, but they're quite a tall bird. And I think their legs would look a lot longer than what we see them as. If you've ever seen pictures of owls and how long their legs really are, I reckon it's the same with a Hammerkop. There's a lot of feather coverage down below. But they're amazing birds. And also Hyrax is also a lot bigger than you assume. Not the little ones, of course. It's a bit difficult because you don't really have a point of reference to use as a scale. But they weigh a couple of kilograms. But agile little creatures too. I mean, they're bound from rock to rock with no problem. They do things that even make safari parkourers rattle in their skin. Are you eating? Oh my goodness, this is my favorite. Please watch these Hyraxes feed. Now, the last time I watched Hyraxes feed up close was, what's that area called? It's in Plettenberg Bay. Kirst, do you remember there's that hike that you can do? Oh, the Robberg hike. Never mind. I found it. So there's a beautiful hike you can do. And you watch the Hyraxes around there quite a bit. My goodness. And those things, look at them. They chew with their mouths open. They've got these incisors that point outwards, very similar to elephants' tusks, if you will, just a lot smaller, of course. And the food goes everywhere. They look like they need braces, but anyways, their teeth are supposed to obviously be like that so that they can chew. Why are you eating the rock? What are you trying to get off of it? Look how small the little ones are. They're so cute. Nom nom nom. I don't know why that one is chewing on the rock. I'm not sure if there was something on there that I missed. Maybe there's some minerals that it likes. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to head to Safari Hook. God, it must. Oh no, it's something. Anyways, we're going to go check out Safari Hook because elephants are coming down to drink. Just in time. So here we are. If I'm not mistaken, we're in Namibia. Are we in Namibia coast? I've forgotten. Please send help. I haven't spent too much time at this camera. Kirsten is typing, so we'll see if she's going to rake me over the coals for calling it the wrong thing. Yes, Etosha. Okay, just outside Etosha. I just wanted to double check. I remember. So we've got some elephants. Just looks like bulls for now. Just 2 bulls. They're moving with more purpose than the giraffe were towards a waterhole, but I suppose they don't really need to panic all that much about predators. They're not putting themselves into any contorted positions. And of course, well, they're an elephant, the king of the savannah. Not very many things mess with them. Now we just have to be patient and figure out where are they going to drink. Why can't you just drink there? Where are you going? Is there a special secret spot that you want to drink from? Do you have a preference? Or are you just going to bypass the water? Okay, well, at least one of them is coming to have a drink in a good spot. Nope, it was short-lived. Oh, where that one is going. The water's this way, buddy. Gosh, not even having a chance to drink properly. It's like when you're running a marathon and they hand out water on the sides and you kind of grab it and you squeeze whatever you can in your mouth and then it's dropped. It gets, dropped everywhere. Okay, I have now found out why they were walking such a distance is because this block is obviously where the water is coming directly out of it. And we know how picky elephants are and how they will always choose the freshest of fresh water. So that explains it. Clever elephants. Gosh, these animals are just incredible. It's just blows my mind as well how they're able to survive in such arid environments. And when we talk about the Sabi sand and then we try and, compare it to Etosha, it's like chalk and cheese. For the most part, this place is barren and there isn't much around. They really move big distances, again, compared to the elephants in the greater Kruger. Beautiful watering hole, though. I bet there's a lot of bird activity, too, with this dead tree and that other fallen log. Nice perching points. Can you hear the cicada? Or cicada? I've got a silly South African accent, so we say things differently. Oh, and apparently there was a pelican here last week. Good for you, pelican. Probably a little stopover point. I have to tell you a story about the cicadas that we can now hear screeching in the background. Because we have had a tiny bit of rain, a lot of insects have been emerging, which I'm thrilled about. I love insects. I wasn't even joking about that. And I went outside because my dog Tucker needed to use the luxury facility, so off we went. And as we were coming back inside, I was just shining my torch on the wall just to see what was out and about. And then I saw a cicada, a nymph. And it was the last stage of it being a nymph before it molts and turns into an adult. Now, we always just find the shells around, the exoskeletons, and they're crazy to look at. And I've never actually sat and watched a cicada emerge after a molt. So I watched the whole thing happen. It was crazy. I even took a video. I'll have to turn it into a time-lapse though, because it took about 6.5 minutes, and then my arms got tired, so I had to take a quick break and then start it again, and that was like another 3 minutes. It was a long process. And then when I went out a little bit later, I saw that its wings had completely unfolded, And then the third time I went out, it had flown away or it got eaten by a gecko. Either option. But I thought that was amazing. Thank you, elephant. Sorry for letting me steal your thunder. Just briefly. Now they're going to drink and drink and drink. Elephants in deserts tend to spend a lot more time around a waterhole than what you might see in, let's say, again, let's just talk about South Africa and we'll talk about the north, the greater Kruger for the most part. There's a lot more water around. People have pumped, there's more pumped pans, the bigger river systems. The elephants can obviously dig down and get water. It depends on how high the water table is. They can also only dig so deep. But the desert elephants also spend a lot of time splashing water over their bodies. So, again, because it does get really hot in South Africa, there's a lot more trees around which can help shade them. But the elephants that are in the more desert dwelling areas, they don't have that luxury of, standing under a big shady tree. Of course, there are, but there are not as many opportunities. So they've got to spend more time throwing more water over themselves and mud to try and keep themselves cool. Mindy, you've now asked, are there both freshwater and saltwater pelicans? So you get a variety of different species of pelicans, and to them, water is water. We always look at pelicans and we think of them as birds living along the ocean, but I've seen them in some amazing places. So, you go into this time of the year, into late October and into November, and there's huge populations of pelicans in South Luangwa National Park in Zambia. That's all freshwater. Then you let's go Tanzania, for an example, to Nyerere National Park, what used to be called, was the world's oldest game reserve, Selous Game Reserve, and there, pelicans everywhere, also freshwater. So I think it really just depends on where there's food. They are feasting on lots of fish for the most part, and I suppose anything else they can fit down their gullets. So they're not too perturbed about the salt water. Sometimes what you can see, though, is birds that spend a lot of time in salt or brackish water, that they get these sort of mineral buildups around their legs. I've not seen it, but people have been posting lots of pictures about it lately, trying to understand what it actually is. So I imagine when pelicans spend more time around salt water, they might get those mineral buildups on their legs, but then as soon as they spend time in freshwater, it'll all just hopefully fall away. So now if I was an elephant, I'd be doing what this one does. Straight in, not wasting any time, get those legs wet. In fact, I'd be rolling around like a buffalo or a rhino. There we go. Get some nice, try and full scoop up the mud. Almost looks like he's doing that. He's going like right to the bottom of the water. There we go. You can see there, not just water, but also some mud. There, stir it up. So it's great that there's lots of water that they spray over their bodies, but that only keeps them cool to a degree. Like water dries pretty quickly. So I know some of you have heard this before, but for the newcomers who are learning about all the wonderful and fascinating safari things, having wrinkles is great. I just had a treatment done to my face. I'm desperately trying to prevent wrinkles. And yeah, the elephants are, give me more wrinkles. Because when they toss that mud over them, it gets stuck in those little cracks. And it helps keep the ellies cooler for longer. There we go. Now, here we are. Here's Taylor the elephant. She's down. She's in the water. Obviously, this is an elephant bull, not a female. But doesn't that look nice and comfortable? Don't get up just yet. Take your time. Enjoy it. So happy. I would love to be an elephant for a day or 2 days or 3 days. And one of the first things that I would do, after I've sprayed mud at a bunch of people on a safari vehicle, or try and push down a tree because I just want to see how strong, I really am, I would go into water, in deep water if I could find it, and try and swim. I would just love to feel how elephants are so relieved by the buoyancy, their buoyancy, and then the water. It must be so nice to feel light. Although I suppose elephants don't have an understanding of what it feels like to be smaller and not so heavy, right? That head weighs so many kilograms. Luckily for them, though, they have got sort of honeycomb bone structure inside their heads that definitely helps alleviate some of the weight. Very interesting looking to the skull of an elephant. Look how he's stretching out, being quite picky. So he's obviously stirred up the water around him. So now he's stretching his trunk out to where the sediment, for the most part, has filtered down to the bottom and just sucking the water off the surface. They're just such highly intelligent animals. He's making sure not to spill a drop. It's also really funny watching young elephants learn to drink with their trunks. It must be infuriating. They definitely use more energy than needed when trying to drink. You know, it might take them 10 attempts without dropping all the water out of their trunk to get like a decent trunkful into their mouths, if that makes sense. Sometimes, sorry, I ramble and I can't get my words out. Difficult. I'm going to blame it on the heat. I don't know what my excuse is in winter, though. You just rinse your mouth out now, elephant. Didn't look like he really drank much of that at all. Yeah, just like spraying it. Maybe you're cleaning your teeth. Oh, this is so beautiful to see. It also look like there's some swallows or bee eaters I didn't quite see swooping down and just drinking off the surface of the water too. Not very many, just every now and then. Karu, you've said, why do butterflies flap their wings when they're sitting? So, and you've asked if they're trying to keep cool. So they open and close them slowly. I'm not, honestly, I actually haven't researched that. So I'm going to take a stab at it, but please don't quote me because I really need to go and read up about it properly. I wonder if it has something to do with camouflage, which sounds ridiculous, but if any of you, we've all seen butterflies, right? So we know that the top parts of their wings are beautiful, colored. They've colored in all sorts of colors. They've got spots and stripes or whatever the case is. And then on the underside of their wings, it's sort of a bit more cryptic. And when those wings are closed vertically, they become invisible. So I wonder if it's a mechanism for them to show the bright color, and then as they close their wings, so bring them up and vertically closed, then they could disappear again. Because we talk about something called flash coloration. Now, I don't think we can typically use this word, but when we talk about flash coloration, it implies that an animal has a bright color hidden somewhere on them. And so when they're at rest, you don't see that color. But if they are startled by predators, they'll actually jump or fly or leap, whatever the case is, and they'll expose this bright color, and then the predator becomes distracted and starts looking for that. So I don't know if it's something along those lines. Like I said, not with the same terminology. So I'll have to do some more research, Cara. That's really interesting. And well, we're coming to summer, so we're definitely going to see a lot more butterflies. But I hope you enjoyed the show. I definitely had a lot of fun. Those 45 minutes just zoomed on by. But it is now time for me to I can't even English say, but now it's time for me to say goodbye. But I hope you have a great day for those of you, and those that are late in the afternoon, a good evening, and I'll hopefully see you all soon.